Chapter 2481, Personally Raised, 1. Jia truly disliked her future mother-in-law, Qiao Zijin. Even though she had been dating Chen Feng for a few years, Jia had never once intended on visiting Qiao Zijin. From Zihua's description, Jia had already gotten a clear idea of the kind of person Qiao Zijin was. It could be said that Qiao Nan was the person Jia liked most apart from her mother, Zihua. Knowing that Qiao Zijin had bullied her favorite auntie endlessly in the past, Jia couldn't bring herself to like her future mother-in-law, much less address her as mom. But Jia hadn't broken up with Chen Feng just because of Qiao Zijin. The person she liked was Chen Feng, and the one she would marry was also Chen Feng, not Qiao Zijin. As such, before Chen Feng did anything wrong, there was no reason for her to give up on the person she liked just because of a person she hated. Chen Feng was rather grateful for Jia's rationality. It was fate that had brought them together. Chen Feng and Jia were both crazy over their younger siblings and doted on them. In this aspect, they resembled each other. Most importantly, Chen Feng had been raised by Qiao Nan. He was a positive, warm, and upright child. Besides, Chen Feng was intelligent and had good grades. He had even become Jia's junior in school. Of course, because of the Zai family, Chen Feng had gotten even more interactions with Jia. Jia was Zihua and Weida's daughter, after all. As compared to a weak and studious nerd, Jia preferred men with toned and muscular bodies, although not those of bodybuilders. In that way, the toned Chen Feng with ABS stood out amongst the boys who were no stronger than females in their school. Of course, Jia couldn't deny that because of how obsessed she was with her younger siblings, the only male she had constant interaction with was Chen Feng. She knew no other males with better bodies, and neither was she willing to interact with them. They were both young and unmarried, and she was pretty while he was handsome. It was impossible for them not to have developed feelings for each other over time. But unlike Jia's enthusiasm, Chen Feng was rather timid. He remembered just how much Jia had hated him the first time they had met. Jia had only grown to show him a little kindness afterward because of their younger siblings and aunt. As such, Chen Feng had never dared to confess his feelings to Jia because he had no idea whether Jia liked him too. He was afraid that he would be rejected and wouldn't even get the chance to meet Jia in the future if he were to confess. Jia was a girl and had her own convictions too. It was better for boys to confess first. That was why she had held it in all along. They had already developed feelings for each other while they were still in China, but they had remained nothing more than friends even until their exchange abroad. Because of those feelings, both of them had chosen the same school without any discussion. Jia had done it on purpose, but Chen Feng had thought that his careful plans had succeeded and was joyful that they could still be schoolmates. While living abroad, Jia and Chen Feng had shared an apartment in order to take care of each other. Initially, Zihua had disagreed. She disliked Qiao Zijin as well as Qiao Zijin's son, Chen Feng. It wasn't appropriate for a single man and a single woman to be living together. What if Qiao Zijin's son took advantage of her daughter? Of course, she wanted her daughter to get married so that she would become a grandmother. But if that person was Chen Feng, Zihua would never allow it. The thought of becoming in-laws with Qiao Zijin disgusted her. Initially, when Qiao Nan had first married Zai Sheng and settled down in the capital, Qiao Zijin had tried to enter the southern quad and tried to address her as elder sister, even asking her for countless favors. Zihua had never forgotten just how shameless Qiao Zijin had been at that time. Ever since Jia started having feelings for Chen Feng, Zihua's impression of those memories deepened. When she was young, Zihua had never listened to her parents. Like mother, like daughter. Jia was no different. So what if Zihua disagreed? She was already far away from her mother. Besides, both she and Chen Feng were overseas and living together while her mother was still in China. If her mother was so capable, she could simply fly abroad and keep a close eye on her so that she wouldn't be able to rent an apartment with Chen Feng. So why had Zihua finally given in? Because she was her mother. Jia was different from Chen Feng. After Zihua's divorce, she had led a comfortable life. This meant that Jia was no different from Zihua. The food she whipped up could probably poison herself. But Chen Feng was different. Qiao Zijin was unreliable. As such, even though Chen Feng was a man, he had to rely on himself most of the time. Although Chen Feng's culinary skills were not fantastic, they were much better in comparison to Jia's deathly cuisine. Most students abroad weren't used to Western cuisine and still preferred their own Chinese cuisine. Jia didn't like eating Western cuisine but didn't know how to cook either. If she didn't get a roommate who knew how to whip up Chinese dishes, she would either die of starvation or develop gastric problems. Who had raised such a pampered child? There was only one answer. Zihua had personally raised her. As compared to her own preferences, it was obvious that her daughter's health mattered much more. Since ancient times, children had always won in battles against their parents. The moment Zihua gave in, Jia and Chen Feng went from being roommates to cohabitating. Chen Feng was handsome. It wasn't just Chinese girls who thought so. Even foreigners thought so too. Chen Feng was tall, and even amongst foreign men, he didn't appear short. Besides, he was well-built and attractive to women. Both of them hadn't even been overseas for a month before Chen Feng started receiving confessions. Children abroad lived freely. It was common to see students dating in high school, let alone university. Besides, once they started dating, they would engage in all sorts of intimate activities. Even if they couldn't be in a proper relationship, having a one-night stand was all right too as long as they were interested in each other. There were many who confessed to Chen Feng, even asking him out for a one-night stand. Jia had even witnessed these confessions, making her fly into a fury. Chapter 2482, Personally Raised, 2. In the end, Jia was no longer able to hold it in and directly said to the girl who was confessing to Chen Feng, "I'm sorry, he's my boyfriend. We're already cohabitating. It doesn't matter how open-minded you are. But please don't cross the line by snatching someone else's boyfriend." Thankfully, that girl hadn't gotten angry. The moment she heard that Chen Feng had a girlfriend, she immediately apologized to Jia and even wished them the best. That was how the couple had gotten into a relationship. They had already been dating for more than 3 years, but even up until today, Jia was still upset about how they had only gotten together because she had been forced to take the initiative. At the mention of Qiao Zijin today, Jia had almost blown her top off. Seeing his girlfriend in such a rage, Chen Feng was stuck between a hard place and a rock. It wasn't his choice to have a mother like Qiao Zijin. Although he had not spent much time with his mother, Chen Feng could feel that Qiao Zijin treated her son exceptionally well compared to how she treated everyone else. Qiao Zijin was his biological mother, after all. No matter how bad she was, she still treated him well. Besides, he couldn't possibly choose who his mother was. He couldn't possibly give up his own biological mother for the sake of a girlfriend. Of course, Jia's conflict with Chen Feng had started from Qiao Dongliang's funeral. At that time, Qiao Nan had taken De Bao and Chen Feng along with her to settle Qiao Dongliang's funeral. Even when he had still been alive, Qiao Dongliang had not contacted Ding Ji up until his death. It was as though they were no longer husband and wife. The problem was that Qiao Nan could no longer ask for Qiao Dongliang's opinion on whether he wanted Ding Ji to know about his death since he was already gone. When Ding Ji found out that Qiao Dongliang had passed on, she wailed miserably but continuously lambasted Qiao Dongliang for being a heartless man. She had been married to Qiao Dongliang for half her life. How could Qiao Dongliang be so vicious as to leave without even talking to her once more? Initially, Ding Ji had already grown used to living apart from Qiao Dongliang. Sometimes, she was even able to calm herself down because she knew that Qiao Dongliang was living somewhere not too far away from her. But Ding Ji had never imagined that such a lowly request would become an extravagant wish now that Qiao Dongliang was gone. Because of Qiao Dongliang's death, Ding Jiyi felt that her whole world had come crashing down. It went without question that Jiao Nan placed more emphasis on her father, Jiao Dongliang, than her mother. Ding Jiyi was depressed that Jiao Dongliang had left alone, leaving her behind. But at the same time, she was also afraid that Jiao Nan would no longer support her now that Jiao Dongliang was no longer around. Ever since moving out of the quad, Ding Jiyi had gotten a clearer understanding of the world. Perhaps it was because of the influence of the quad, but none of the children who grew up there were particularly unfilial. Ever since moving into the large apartment that Jiao Nan had arranged for her, those news articles that she saw would never happen to her. Those on unfilial children taking advantage of their parents. Especially that of the couple who had a son with a gambling addiction. Not only had he lost several millions of the family's savings, but he had even mortgaged the house behind his family's back to borrow more money for gambling. Because he had lost all his money and was unable to repay his debts, the bank had naturally gone to repossess the house. Rumor had it that the elderly couple had put in a lot of hard work into their business, rising early and working into the night to get to where they were today. Who would have expected their most beloved son to have ruined everything? They had worked hard their whole lives but didn't even have a roof over their heads in their old age. That elderly couple sobbed and regretted their actions. If they had known that this would happen, they would never have sent their elder daughter away just to have their son. Because they had sent their elder daughter away, they were now facing their retribution in their old age. Not only had their son lost all of their savings, but they also had nowhere to live. Seeing the miserable state the couple was in made Ding Jiyi realize that there were such unreasonable children and pitiful elderly in this world. Then, she thought about her own situation. What had she given Jiao Nan? As a mother, she had never given Jiao Nan anything. All along, she had thought that it was good enough as long as she demanded less from Jiao Nan. Although she had never given Jiao Nan anything, Jiao Nan had repaid her with kindness and had taken good care of her. Perhaps it was because of this, as well as Jiao Zijin as an example, that Ding Jiyi knew that she would only have Jiao Zijin left as a daughter if she ever angered Jiao Nan. Then, she would have to rely on Jiao Zijin alone. That would be when she would face the same downfall as that elderly couple. That was why Ding Jiyi lived peacefully ever since moving to the large apartment. No matter how much Jiao Nan gave her, she simply accepted it. She had never complained that it was insufficient. From then on, Ding Jiyi also stopped trying to make trouble for Jiao Nan from time to time. It could be said that her new neighbors moved Ding Jiyi and educated her well. She couldn't have been any more obedient. Perhaps it was because of this that Jiao Dongliang and Jiao Nan had managed to live peacefully for 5 more years up until Jiao Dongliang's death. When Jiao Dongliang passed away, not only had Jiao Nan gone over, but she had also asked Ding Jiyi along. Of course, as one of Jiao Dongliang's only 2 daughters, Jiao Zijin couldn't miss it either. Unlike Ding Jiyi, who was sobbing her heart out, and Jiao Nan, who was grieving silently, Jiao Zijin remained silent but didn't seem in the least bit sad about Jiao Dongliang's passing. To Jiao Zijin, Jiao Dongliang was biased toward Jiao Nan and had never treated her well. She had never gotten remarried. Logically speaking, she should have remained at home for her parents to take care of her. But what had her dad done? It didn't even matter that he was biased toward Jiao Nan, but he had even moved out of the family home 8 or 9 years ago. To be honest, she hadn't even met her dad in 8 to 9 years. Since they hadn't met in such a long time, there were no feelings to speak of. They were no different from strangers. Why would she cry for a stranger? 3 years ago, Chen Jun had no longer been able to hold on and had passed on. Even then, she hadn't shed a tear for Chen Jun either. He was someone who had betrayed her. Given her attitude toward Chen Jun, it was obvious that Jiao Zijin didn't feel much better toward Jiao Dongliang. The only reason Jiao Zijin had been willing to attend Jiao Dongliang's funeral was not for Jiao Dongliang himself but for her son, Chen Feng. Chapter 2483. Personally Raised, 3. Ever since Chen Feng had gone to the capital for his studies, Jiao Zijin had gotten few chances to meet her son. Although Jiao Zijin had been proud that her son had gotten the opportunity to study abroad, she was heartbroken at the same time. Wouldn't that mean that she wouldn't be able to meet her son for a long time? Even though her son hadn't been able to return during the summer vacation while he was studying in the capital, he would always return during the winter vacation to spend time with her. But she couldn't possibly ask her son to rush back from abroad just to spend time with her during the New Year period. It hadn't been easy on her, and she had finally waited until the day her son returned. But not only had she not been able to meet her son immediately, but she had even seen her son tag alongside Jiaonan like her grandson, catering to Jiaonan's needs. That infuriated her. Seeing how well Chen Feng treated Jiaonan, Jiao Zijin saw a glimpse of Chen Jun in Chen Feng. When Chen Jun had been dating Jiaonan, he had been just as considerate toward her, taking care of her every need. But once she became Chen Jun's wife, he underwent a complete transformation, never caring about her. They were all like that. Even her son was like that. Jiao Zijin's expression twisted into an ugly one. She didn't understand why her father, her husband, and even her son didn't like her but were closer to Jiaonan. At that moment, Jiao Zijin had the urge to rush up to Chen Feng and question him about whom he felt was his mother. Fortunately, Jiao Zijin had resisted that urge. It was good to have self-awareness, and thankfully, Jiao Zijin had grown to have a little after all this time. She knew that she was Chen Feng's biological mother, and she had given birth to Chen Feng. But there were so many women in the world. She wasn't the only one who could give birth to children. She had seen a perfect example of this with Ding Ji and Jiaonan. She couldn't expect Chen Feng to keep providing her with things and demand that he listen to her and fulfill her desires when she had done nothing for him except giving birth to him. Apart from giving birth to Chen Feng, she had never done anything for him. Even her son's living allowance and school fees were either from the inheritance that the Chen family had left to Chen Feng or from his own pockets. Of course, Jiao Zijin had the ability to give Chen Feng money if she wanted to, but she couldn't bear to do so. Jiao Zijin was still hoping that Chen Feng would use the Chen family's money to support her. So, there was no way she would ever use her measly 1 million yuan on Chen Feng. From what she saw, 1 million wouldn't even be enough for Chen Feng. Since it was insufficient, and Chen Feng had money in his own pockets, she had better keep the money for herself. Only if she was living well would Chen Feng rest assured and not need to worry about her while he was studying abroad. After finding herself a lot of excuses, Jiao Zijin decided that she wouldn't spend a single cent of her money on Chen Feng. At the thought of this, Jiao Zijin no longer dared to demand anything of Chen Feng. She was afraid that her relationship with her son would become one like the relationship between Jiaonan and Ding Ji. If that were the case, what was the point of having a son like Chen Feng? If not for the fact that Chen Feng was attending Jiao Dongliang's funeral, Jiao Zijin probably wouldn't have attended it either. She didn't want to have to face the gazes of others, just like how her own mother was glaring at her as though she was an enemy. When her father had still been alive, her mom had often angered her dad too. Besides, her dad had died a natural death, not because of an illness, much less because he had been angered. Why was her mom looking at her in this way? Jiao Zijin was particularly upset about that. But no matter how annoyed she was, she couldn't do anything because they were at Jiao Dongliang's funeral. All she could do was to remain silent and wait for a suitable opportunity to talk to Chen Feng privately. Chen Feng had already graduated, and based on their previous agreement, Chen Feng should have returned to Pingcheng to get a job so that he could support her. Up until now, Chen Feng seemed to have no intention of doing so. That was why she had to get a sense of when Chen Feng would return and what kind of job he intended to get. In order to let her son return to her side to support her in her old age, Jiao Zijin had already thought it through. She had not made any effort in finding herself a job, but she was prepared to help Chen Feng get a job through some connections. As long as her son was willing to return, her hard work meant nothing to her. Feng, come over. Mom has something to ask you. Qiao Zijin had finally found a chance to pull Chen Feng to the side, causing Chen Feng to frown. What's the matter, Mom? Chen Feng was highly displeased that Qiao Zijin hadn't even shed a single tear, nor shown any sign of sadness throughout the funeral. Chen Feng knew that his mom hadn't even cried when his father had died. In fact, she had probably rejoiced that his father was finally dead. Chen Feng was helpless in the face of such a heartless mother. How had his mother grown up? The strangest thing was that his auntie, who was his mother's younger sister, was nothing like her. Could it be that his grandparents had been right? The biggest culprit who had caused his mother to turn out in this way was his grandmother, who was currently wailing and sobbing outside. When are you returning to Pingcheng? Have you thought about what job you're going to get? If you have any plans, you can tell me. I'll help take a look around so that you'll have choices to choose from when you're back. Qiao Zijin said that with confidence. Chen Feng had attended one of the best schools in the country and had even gone abroad to study. He had returned in glory. It was only right for her brilliant son to be able to pick and choose the company he wanted to work for. Actually, Chen Feng had already guessed what Qiao Zijin was going to say before she had even spoken. But Chen Feng couldn't answer Qiao Zijin during such an occasion. Because of his grandparents and father, he had intended to return to Pingcheng. After his father had left, he had called his grandparents to seek their opinions. The elderly couple planned to return to Pingcheng since that was their hometown, after all. But they didn't agree with Chen Feng being cooped up in such a small city like Pingcheng for their sakes, ruining his career progression in the future when he had such great opportunities in the capital. They were all too clear about how hard they had tried to settle the Chen family in the capital in the past to no avail. Chapter 2484. Persistence, 1. It hadn't been easy for his grandson to have finally achieved it, and Father Chen wasn't going to let Chen Feng give up a good future for the sake of personal feelings. As long as Chen Feng could settle down in the capital, they wouldn't even blame him even if he couldn't make it back to Pingcheng in order to send them off. Father Chen even said that if Chen Feng dared to agree to Qiao Zijin's selfish requests, they would disown him, and he could dream on about acknowledging them as his grandparents in the future. Father Chen was truly enraged by Qiao Zijin. She was still as selfish as ever in front of her only son. Although she claimed that she would never harm Chen Feng, she always put herself in top priority, demanding Chen Feng to do whatever would benefit her the most. Father Chen regretted allowing Chen Jun to marry Qiao Zijin for his grandson's sake at that time. The best solution would have been for Chen Jun to marry Qiao Nan instead. Of course, Father Chen's plan was not much better than Qiao Zijin's. But because of Father Chen's vicious threats and firm attitude, there was no room for any discussion. As compared to Qiao Zijin, Chen Feng naturally had much deeper feelings for Father and Mother Chen. With his grandparents' advice, adding on to the fact that his girlfriend was in the capital, it was impossible for him to return to Pingcheng. It was an obvious choice for him. Mom, I may be staying in the capital to establish my career. I'm not returning to Pingcheng. Also, I've already gotten a job. He was going to have to break the news to her eventually. Besides, Chen Feng's patience with Qiao Zijin had run dry. If not for the fact that he wanted to settle his grandfather's funeral peacefully, Chen Feng would have told Qiao Zijin about this a long time ago. He couldn't understand how Qiao Zijin could still be so willful at her age. Chen Feng was once again grateful that he hadn't grown up by Qiao Zijin's side. Otherwise, he couldn't even be sure that he would have grown up with such proper worldviews and morals. What? Qiao Zijin had heard the most dreaded answer from her son, and her face flushed red. No, I disagree. What will happen to me if you stay in the capital? Feng, aren't you going to support me? True enough. Chen Feng's heart felt bitter as he heard Qiao Zijin's words. He had simply said that he was going to establish his career in the capital. When had he ever said that he wasn't going to support his mother? Don't worry, Mom. I'll definitely support you in your old age. I came to this decision after much deliberation. I think it's better for me this way. Chen Feng had withheld the information that he had gotten himself a girlfriend, who was not only older than him but was also Jiao Nan's niece, Jia. He was afraid that his mom would kick up an even greater fuss if he were to let her know of that situation. I don't believe you. You promised me that you would return to Pingcheng after graduating even though you were going to the capital to study. You've been lying to me. I don't trust you anymore. Chen Feng had gotten several marks in Qiao Zijin's books. Initially, he had agreed to choose a university close to Pingcheng, but he had eventually gone to the capital instead. But it benefited Qiao Zijin that her son had been outstanding enough to get into such a prestigious school. So, she had held it in but had discussed the matter of where Chen Feng would work after graduation. But now, Chen Feng had gone back on his word again. This time, Qiao Zijin was no longer willing to speak nicely to Chen Feng and demanded Chen Feng to change his mind. Don't forget that your dad's gone. You're your grandparents' only grandson. What will they do without you here? Have you ever thought about that? At the mention of father and mother Chen Feng grew silent. It was exactly because of his grandparents' orders that he wasn't returning to Pingcheng. Seeing Chen Feng's expression, Qiao Zijin's eyes were on fire. Her son, Feng, had always been an obedient child. Why had he lied to her time and again? It must have been those two old fogies from the Chen family who were trying to tear the mother and son apart. Were they uneasy seeing how good their relationship was? Qiao Zijin loved competing with others. All right, I understand. Feng, let me ask you. Who's more important to you? Your grandparents or your mother? In other words, if Chen Feng felt that his mother was more important, he had better return to Pingcheng and support her in her old age. Chen Feng rubbed his forehead, not understanding where his mother's confidence had come from. The answer to this question was painfully obvious. How could his mom compare herself to his grandparents? There were two of them and only one of her. Besides, even if they were to compare feelings, he had deeper feelings for even just one grandparent than his mother. Chen Feng could give Qiao Zijin an answer without any hesitation. But Chen Feng was a soft-hearted kid, after all. He knew that his mother was muddle-headed, and even if he were to give that answer, his mother would only feel hurt but still not understand the situation. Sometimes, silence was the best answer. If his answer could please Qiao Zijin, there was no need for him to face her with silence. But Qiao Zijin had no self-awareness at all. Don't keep mum and don't think of running away from this question. It's cruel to make you make this decision, but I'm your biological mother. Don't you think that your grandparents went over the line? I know you pity them, but have they ever thought of our relationship? Call your grandparents now and tell them that you want to return to Pingcheng and that you'll be staying with your mom. How could he be closer to his grandparents than his own mom? All children were closest to their mothers. Their grandparents came much later. Since those two old fogies of the Chen family had no self-awareness and wanted to torture themselves, there was no need for her to be kind to them either. They had brought this upon themselves. Besides, those two old fogies had never been good to her even though she still addressed them as her parents up until now. Qiao Zijin felt that there was no need to go easy on them. Qiao Zijin had asked a very foolish question and had very little self-awareness. Chen Feng didn't know whether to laugh or cry at the incredulity of the situation. This was his mother. Mom, I spent my childhood growing up with Grandma and Grandpa. Chen Feng reminded Qiao Zijin. Qiao Zijin was stunned. What do you mean? Mom, there are some things that will still be there even if we don't talk about it. When I was very young, Auntie was the one who raised me. After you got divorced from my dad, it was Grandma and Grandpa who raised me. Before Dad got into trouble, you didn't even visit me once. Chapter 2485, Persistence, 2. Because he was already past the age where he longed for his mother's love, Chen Feng no longer felt sad when talking about the past and could deal with it calmly. Qiao Zijin rebuked him. It wasn't that I didn't want to visit you, but your grandparents didn't allow me to. Yes, Grandma and Grandpa didn't let you visit me, so you didn't even try to look for me. If his mom was sincere, would his grandparents' attitudes have mattered? Besides, he had not been a 3-year-old toddler at that time. As long as his mother had tried to visit him, he would have gotten in contact with her behind his grandparents' backs. Unfortunately, his mother had never even tried to contact him once, much less visit him. If not for his father running into his own trouble and his grandparents needing to hand him over to his mom so that he could leave that environment, he probably wouldn't have met his mother, Qiao Zijin, up until now. Are you trying to settle old accounts now? Do you mean that your feelings for your grandparents are deeper because they spent more time with you? Is that why you're not close to me? Qiao Zijin looked at Chen Feng in disbelief. What kind of child was closer to their grandparents than their own mother? Chen Feng had not planned on saying that, but since Qiao Zijin insisted on going down this path, Chen Feng could only reply with a nod. Yes, in my heart, Grandma and Grandpa are more important than you. But you're my mom, so I'll still support you in your old age. Grandpa and Grandma asked me to stay in the capital to establish my career, and I've decided to listen to their advice and not to return to Pingcheng. It was good that he had cleared the air too. It would have been more troublesome if they hadn't resolved their differences. I have your card, but I've never used your money even at my age. Apart from giving birth to me, you've done nothing for me. I'll do what I'm obliged to do and support you. You don't have to worry about that. Chen Feng felt helpless at the mention of his relationship with Qiao Zijin. He didn't understand how he had gotten a mother like that. His grandmother had been amazing, treating his mother well even though she had bullied his aunt. But his mom wasn't even as good to him as his grandmother had been to his mom. Because of that, Chen Feng wondered who had led Qiao Zijin astray, so much so that she didn't know how to be a good daughter nor a good sister. Now that she was a mother, she was still a mess of a mother. Chen Feng wondered whether the only successful identity she had in life was as Qiao Zijin herself. There was no other identity that she played well. I've already made myself clear. No matter how much you try to change my mind in the future, I won't return to Pingcheng. I've already found myself a job in the capital. I'll wire you 2,000 yuan a month first. Once my job gets more stable, I'll see if I can give you 2,500 or 3,000 yuan instead. That was the most Chen Feng was willing to do to help Qiao Zijin live comfortably. Actually, Qiao Zijin had never needed to fulfill her responsibilities as a mother. While Chen Feng was still unweaned, it had been Mother Chen and Ding Jiyi taking care of her child. When Chen Feng learned to walk, it had been Qiao Nan guiding and raising him. After her divorce from Chen Jun, Chen Feng had ended up in the hands of Father and Mother Chen. In the blink of an eye, Chen Feng had grown up into an adult and could now provide for Qiao Zijin. But Qiao Zijin had never even done anything for him. Qiao Zijin would probably only realize whether she had been an utter failure as a mother at the last moment of her life. Qiao Zijin's face paled. So, you're going to listen to those two and chase me away by giving me some money every month. Mom, don't make it sound so bad. You weren't even willing to spend this sum of money on me and simply chased me away. But did I ever say anything like that to you? Everyone had their limits. If Qiao Zijin continued being so unaware and insisted on attacking Chen Feng, there would come a day he would no longer be able to tolerate it anymore. We're conducting Grandpa's funeral and I don't have time to waste on you. I have to head back. After the morning, it was time for Qiao Dongliang's kin to send his body to the crematorium to be cremated. Then, they could bury Qiao Dongliang's ashes in the urn they had previously purchased. Dabao wasn't old enough, and only Chen Feng had the strength to help with carrying Qiao Dongliang's coffin to send him off as his grandson. Wait a minute, Qiao Zijin tried to stop Chen Feng from going to lift the coffin. She was dissatisfied with Chen Feng's answer. How could Chen Feng make such a huge decision alone? She was Chen Feng's mother, and he had to respect her opinions and base his decisions on them. Ding Jiyi walked up and grabbed hold of Qiao Zijin's hand, flinging Qiao Zijin aside. "Can't you take a look around you? Have you done anything for your dad at this age? Your dad didn't even blame you for it. Now that your dad's gone, can you act sensibly at the very least and let your dad leave peacefully?" Ding Jiyi felt heartbroken when she saw her daughter, Qiao Zijin. She had realized how much of a failure she was. Qiao Zijin behaved terribly as though she wasn't even Qiao Dongliang's daughter. This all meant that she had raised Qiao Zijin wrongly in the past. She and Qiao Dongliang were finally getting their retribution for having raised their daughter, who hadn't gotten remarried, badly. They hadn't educated their daughter well and had destroyed another family. In the end, it had come back to haunt them too. In the moment that Ding Jiyi flung her aside, Qiao Zijin was utterly stunned. Qiao Zijin already knew that Ding Jiyi no longer liked her 5 years ago. If her mother still liked her, there was no way she wouldn't have gotten in touch over the past 5 years after secretly moving away. It was only when Chen Feng left to study abroad, not even returning to spend the new year with Qiao Zijin, that Qiao Zijin felt a tinge of regret for not having treated Ding Jiyi better before she had moved away. If Ding Jiyi hadn't been angry with her and hadn't moved away, she would have been able to spend the new year with Ding Jiyi. There was nothing to celebrate when one was alone during the new year period. However, she thought that Ding Jiyi's feelings toward her were simply that of dislike. But now, Ding Jiyi was glaring at her with hatred. Qiao Zijin nearly flared up and acted out because of Ding Jiyi's gaze. Thankfully, Qiao Zijin finally calmed down upon seeing Qiao Dongliang's black and white portrait. Otherwise, she would have kicked up a huge fuss to let everyone know about just how much she had suffered at the hands of the Qiao family. Chapter 2486, Persistence, 3. Whether it was her own family or her in-laws, no one had been good to her. "Mom, I know you don't like me, but I wasn't the one who caused Dad's death. Why are you directing all your anger toward me?" Qiao Zijin felt aggrieved. There was no reason for her to receive the hate she was receiving. She had to stand up for herself and let everyone know that she was innocent. She wasn't Qiao Nan and would never bear the responsibility of something she had never done. Ding Jiyi was exhausted and sneered. "It's true that your dad's death had nothing to do with you. When I'm gone, you'll only care about whether it has something to do with you. It's my fault that you grew up in this way, and your dad is probably at fault too. So, it's your dad's and my retribution. Qiao Zijin, I'm really curious if you would turn out this way if you had other people as your parents." Ding Jiyi had never thought that it was entirely Qiao Dongliang and her responsibility that Qiao Zijin had turned out this way. Qiao Zijin had to bear some responsibility too. She wasn't a 3-year-old kid. Even though some of her worldviews had already been formed, Qiao Zijin could very well have changed them once she understood what was going on around her. But had Qiao Zijin been willing to do so? Of course not. Qiao Zijin was all too clear that her life would never be as easygoing and comfortable if she were to change her personality. Qiao Zijin wanted to lead a good life but didn't want to work hard for it. All she wanted to do was to enjoy life and reap the benefits others had gleaned. That was Qiao Zijin's nature. She had not caused Qiao Zijin to develop such a personality. She had always taught Qiao Zijin to study hard and get good results so that she could enter a good university and have a bright future. But ever since entering school, Qiao Zijin had never scored well. Every time, Qiao Zijin would coax her by saying that she hadn't released her full potential, that there had been something wrong with her pen, or that there had been other unexpected situations. In short, all the unexpected problems with Qiao Zijin's stationery led to her faring badly in every single one of her exams. Qiao Zijin had no responsibility over her bad results. It was all due to her bad stationery and Qiao Nan, who was always distracting her. Was that what she had taught her? No, she had never taught Qiao Zijin that. Ding Jiyi thought about it again. Actually, their family of 4 had to bear some responsibility for Qiao Zijin turning out this way. The difference was that Jiao Nan had chosen to withdraw herself from the mess early on. She no longer tolerated Jiao Zijin's laziness as she had done in the past and had instead chosen to leave to start a new life afresh. Both she and old Jiao had been foolish and unlucky for being Jiao Zijin's parents. As such, they couldn't abandon Jiao Zijin and had no choice but to endure the pain that Jiao Zijin brought upon them time and again. Ding Jiyi took a deep breath. I don't want to listen to you or talk to you. If you still want to acknowledge your dad and me as your parents, please maintain your silence and let your dad leave peacefully. If you don't treat us as your parents anymore, that's fine too. You can leave straight away and not disturb our family. All right. Ding Jiyi had no more energy to throw a tantrum or get angry at Jiao Zijin. If possible, she wanted to end this as soon as possible, return to her apartment, and live peacefully for the rest of her life. She had already gone down the wrong path for half her life anyway. It was too late to make any amends now. It could be said that Ding Jiyi's heart had died alongside Jiao Dongliang. Ding Jiyi had already made herself clear. The deceased had to be respected. Moreover, Jiao Dongliang was Jiao Zijin's father. She couldn't possibly throw a tantrum and leave at that moment. It wasn't that she didn't want to, but she couldn't. Jiao Zijin knew that Chen Feng would definitely have a worse opinion of her if she were to leave at that moment. Her son was all grown up. As long as her son was willing to support her, she would definitely be able to live a comfortable life in her old age, just like her parents had. She could offend anyone but her son. Very quickly, Jiao Zijin calmed down. Even though she didn't help out, she maintained her silence and followed the others as Jiao Dongliang's daughter. Before the cremation, Ding Jiyi had requested 3 minutes alone with Jiao Dongliang's body. Everyone had agreed to it. Up until Jiao Dongliang's death, Jiao Dongliang had still been legally married to Ding Jiyi. No one could take that last opportunity away from the married couple. After everyone left, Ding Jiyi looked at the icy cold and wrinkled Jiao Dongliang, whose complexion was filled with pigmentation spots. She wept. Ding Jiyi knew that she had grown old too. All that was left of her were bones. There was no fat to be found, and her whole body seemed saggy and especially ugly. She walked over and held Jiao Dongliang's icy cold hands. Old Jiao, I know that I wasn't good enough in this lifetime and disappointed you, but can you give me another chance to be your wife in our next lifetime? I'll definitely be a good wife and mother so that this won't happen again. Jiao Dongliang, who was already dead, was naturally unable to answer Ding Jiyi and simply lay there lifelessly. Old Jiao, since you're not answering me, I'll treat that as an agreement. With that, Ding Jiyi took out a small purse from a pocket that contained hair that Ding Jiyi had cut off. Ding Jiyi was afraid that her agreement with Jiao Dongliang's body wouldn't mean anything, so she had to leave something with him. That was when Ding Jiyi had thought of her own hair. She had specially cut off a long strand and placed it into a small purse to be burned into ashes along with Jiao Dongliang's body. With that, Ding Jiyi finally wiped away her tears and allowed everyone else to enter and watch Jiao Dongliang leave. Everything finally came to an end after Jiao Dongliang's ashes were placed into the urn. Jiao Nan, who had already lost a significant amount of weight, wasn't just physically exhausted but mentally exhausted as well. She wanted nothing more than to return to Zai Sheng's side. As such, as soon as Jiao Dongliang's funeral ended, Jiao Nan didn't even greet Ding Jiyi before flying back to the capital with De Bao. She simply transferred 20,000 yuan into Ding Jiyi's card. To Jiao Nan, Jiao Dongliang's death meant that she had lost half of her familial relations. Once Ding Jiyi left as well, Jiao Nan would finally be free of her family and would never need to face Jiao Zijin ever again. But now that Jiao Nan was finally free, Jia bitterly exclaimed that she was about to be her aunt's successor. Was she going to have to deal with a nasty mother-in-law like Jiao Zijin? Chapter 2487, Dad's So Fierce, 1. Chen Feng had already decided to work in the capital and to set up a family in the capital with Jia. Jiao Zijin knew only about the former situation, not about the latter. Knowing that her son had already made a decision and that she had no way of changing his mind, Xiao Zijin came up with a plan. She would go to the capital. It didn't mean much to her. Hadn't she yearned to settle down in the capital while she was younger? At that time, she didn't have the capabilities or the money to do so and could only return to Pingcheng in shame. But now, things were different. Even if she didn't have the ability to do so, she had a son who did. Her son had already graduated, and it was a society for the young now. It was better to leave the hard work to the young people. As Chen Feng's mother, she would stay at home and take good care of herself. When Chen Feng returned home, he would also have a meal ready for him. In that way, she would be helping Chen Feng. With that thought, Xiao Zijin could no longer hold it in and told Chen Feng that she was going to move to the capital to take care of him. The moment he heard that Xiao Zijin wanted to go to the capital to take care of him, Chen Feng didn't know whether to laugh or to cry. Who was the one taking care of the other? To be honest, even when he was with Jiajia, Chen Feng was the one taking care of Jiajia. Since he could take care of an outsider like Jiajia, it was only right for him to take care of his own mother. Unfortunately, Xiao Zijin was not an average person, and it didn't make sense to use average logic in her situation. Chen Feng was utterly annoyed with how Xiao Zijin always stirred up trouble, and he was actually afraid when he heard that Xiao Zijin wanted to live with him. Without a moment's hesitation, Chen Feng rejected it. Xiao Zijin had better remain in Pingcheng. After all, he already had a house in Pingcheng. If Xiao Zijin were to go to the capital, she would have to stay with him in a small and cramped rented apartment. There was no way it would be as comfortable as living in the large apartment in Pingcheng. The moment Xiao Zijin heard that she would have to suffer, she hesitated. Feng, you're an overseas returnee. You're so brilliant. Your job must pay you well. I think that you'll definitely be able to buy a house in another few years. Besides, no young lady will agree to marry you if you don't have a house. Once you buy a house, will I be able to live there with you? Xiao Zijin was willing to wait it out since she would have to suffer if she were to head over now. She was in no hurry. She would simply wait for her son to settle down in the capital and purchase a house of his own before she moved over. Chen Feng was speechless at how shameless Xiao Zijin was. His mom knew that it would be terribly hard on him, even financially, when he first moved to the capital. So, his mom had simply chosen not to share that burden with him and was not moving over now. But his mom was no fool either. She knew that he wouldn't remain in such dire circumstances forever. Once his situation improved and stabilized, she would definitely move over to enjoy the benefits and comfort that her son would be able to provide. Enjoying the fruits of others' labor. How had his mom thought of that? Didn't his mom feel the least bit embarrassed to show such a shameless side to her son? Did she? Of course not. Most importantly, Xiao Zijin had seen Ding Jiyi use such tactics against Xiao Nan too many times, and every time, Xiao Nan had always satisfied Ding Jiyi. In Xiao Zijin's view, this was allowed and was also a common situation in their family. Once again confirming that his mother wasn't an ordinary mother, Chen Feng no longer wished to say anything. Mom, the environment in the capital is bad, and the traffic is congested. It's quite troublesome. It'll be better for you to remain in Pingcheng. I'll continue giving you a living allowance every month. If you need any more money for other expenses, you can just let me know. I'll transfer more money to you. Chen Feng had never wanted Xiao Zijin to move over, and besides, Xiao Zijin's performance wasn't just ordinarily poor. It would be strange if Chen Feng agreed to allow his mother to stay by his side. Feng, are you abandoning your mother? Xiao Zijin couldn't help but ask sourly, do you think I'm going to the capital for myself? It's all for you. Your dad's gone and you only have me left. If I'm not by your side, who will help you once you get married? Besides, wouldn't Chen Feng have to rely on his mother to raise his child once his wife gave birth? Xiao Zijin hadn't explicitly said all these, but Chen Feng already understood her thoughts. Chen Feng felt a shiver run down his spine. If he were to have a child with Jia, he would much rather hire a nanny than let his mother raise the child. What if his child turned out just like his mom? In that case, he would rather not have any children with Jia at all. Mom, you don't have to worry about that. I'll resolve those problems myself. Qiao Zijin had better forget about going to the capital. There was no room for discussion in this matter. After all, Chen Feng was still settling down in the capital and didn't have much himself. A smart person like Qiao Zijin understood that it was still too early for her to move over. Why would she fall out with her son over something that would happen in the future? It was better for her to simply agree now. Once her son's career took off, she would have a house there once she moved over. She didn't believe that Chen Feng would chase her out if she were to move over. Chen Feng could tell that Qiao Zijin had not truly agreed to stay in Pingchen instead of moving to the capital. In the future, he wouldn't be alone. There would still be Jia. As such, Chen Feng hid nothing from Jia and told her everything about what had happened in Pingcheng. He was whipped for Jia. Upon hearing Qiao Zijin's plans and attitude, Jia flared up. Not only did Jia feel bad for Qiao Nan but also her boyfriend. How could Qiao Zijin be so selfish? She had never even done anything for her son, and yet, she was waiting to enjoy the fruits of his labor. It was infuriating. Chen Feng, I'll make myself clear. You know very well about the relationship between me and my auntie. There's no way I'll ever stay in the same house as her. And your mom had better not think of even touching my child in the future. I'll hate you if our child turns out like your mom. As she said that, Jia nearly brought up the topic of a breakup. Zihua had never agreed to this relationship to begin with. No matter how outstanding or considerate Chen Feng was, he wasn't a good choice as a husband. A good husband didn't stop a mother-in-law from stirring up trouble. Often, couples split up not because of differences between them but irreconcilable differences between daughter-in-law and mother-in-law. Qiao Zijin wasn't a good daughter-in-law, and she definitely wouldn't be a good mother-in-law. Chapter 2488, Dad's So Fierce, 2. Zihua had suffered at the hands of her mother-in-law and was not willing for Jia to go down the same path. Besides, it was obvious that Qiao Zijin was much more difficult to handle than Mother Wei. Jia, don't be upset. I didn't agree to her demands. Chen Feng quickly tried to coax Jia, knowing that she was truly incensed. Jia's anger subsided slightly. You know the kind of person your mom is. What will you do if she insists on it? You're quite soft-hearted to your mom. My auntie was finally able to get away from her because she had gotten married. Do you think you'll be able to escape as her son? Given how amazing Qiao Zijin was, Chen Feng was truly the most pitiful one as her son. This meant that whoever married Chen Feng and became Qiao Zijin's daughter-in-law would be the second most pitiful person. In the past, Jia had simply watched on from the sidelines. But now, Jia couldn't seem to control her emotions since she was about to become the second most pitiful person. Jia finally understood that it didn't matter whether she broke up with Chen Feng now. As long as Qiao Zijin was around, Chen Feng's marriage would definitely end in divorce no matter whom he married. Qiao Zijin was truly a jinx. She harmed one person after another, and it was soon to be her son's turn. But Chen Feng had been raised by Qiao Nan, after all, and he wouldn't be able to be vicious to Qiao Zijin. It's not that she can't come to the capital. It's true that my conditions aren't that good, but I'll work hard. I'd rather have it a little harder and rent a small room for my mom than let her live with us. After all, Chen Feng had Qiao Nan as a role model to learn from. He had to support his parents, but he had control over how he would do that. He would provide a roof over Qiao Zijin's head and provide her with meals and a living allowance. That way, Qiao Zijin would live like a worm that could live comfortably without even doing anything. He felt that he had already fulfilled his responsibilities as a son by going this far. Truthfully, it wasn't that he didn't want to wage a cold war against his mother. After all, Everyone had their limits. He would soon have his own wife, and he would have to work to support his family as well as Qiao Zijin. As such, he didn't have any time or energy to try to write his mother's flawed character. To put it bluntly, educating children well was the responsibility of their parents. Teaching a wife was a husband's duty. He had never heard of a son needing to teach his mother well. The ones who should have educated Qiao Zijin hadn't done so, and he still had to take care of so many other people. He couldn't possibly take care of her too. Are you sure? Are you just trying to appease me by saying that you'll rent a place for her but let her move in later? If Chen Feng dared to do that, Jia was sure that she would definitely take her children and return to her family with her children until Qiao Zijin moved out of their house. Even if she had to go to the extent of getting a divorce, she wouldn't give in to Qiao Zijin. She liked Chen Feng, and Chen Feng treated her well too. She would get married because of love and would get a divorce because of how much she valued respect and freedom. She didn't care so much about marriage or divorce. She simply wanted the best things. But she wondered how Qiao Zijin would respond if she caused her son to get a divorce. She probably wouldn't even reflect on herself even then. No, definitely not. Chen Feng laughed bitterly. If I wanted my mom to do that, do you think I would have come to the capital to study or gone abroad? Chen Feng had chosen a faraway place just to avoid Qiao Zijin. When he had just started to live with Qiao Zijin, Chen Feng had still been a minor and needed a guardian. No one else in the Chen family was suitable, and Qiao Zijin naturally became the first choice. Even though Chen Feng didn't need Qiao Zijin's care, neither the Chen family nor Chen Feng could change the law that required minors to have a guardian. Because they had lived together, Chen Feng was the clearest about how he had been taking care of himself and how Qiao Zijin had never taken care of him. To be honest, Qiao Zijin had done nothing for her son, Chen Feng, apart from giving birth to him. No matter how much Chen Feng had yearned for motherly love in the past, that desire had all faded away in the face of a mother like Qiao Zijin. Chen Feng had never enjoyed motherly love, and Qiao Zijin had never fulfilled her obligation as a mother. He felt that he was already going above and beyond by being willing to support her in this way. If Qiao Zijin had any more demands than that, he wasn't going to accede to them. Fine, I'll believe you this once. But I've already made myself clear. I'm not joking. If you can't do as you said, don't blame me for being heartless. Jia had learned something from Zai Hua, and that was to not put herself at a disadvantage. Sometimes, that wouldn't bring peace and happiness to the family and would only make others go overboard. Because the young couple had finally come to a consensus, Jia did not break up with Chen Feng in the end. After their favorite elder sister and brother had gotten together, some were against it, some were happy, and some were confused. Once, San Bao asked Jiao Nan privately, "Mom, when sister gets married to brother, should I address him as brother-in-law or address her as sister-in-law? Besides, could their elder siblings get married to each other?" Although Jia and Chen Feng were considered to be relatives, they didn't have any blood relations and weren't considered close relatives. There would be no problem for them to get married. Such was fate. Who would have thought that the two of them would develop feelings for each other and start dating even after Jia had gotten such a bad first impression of Chen Feng and had even been so nasty to him. They had never fought or gotten close to a breakup over the years. The only conflict that they had gotten into was all due to Qiao Zijin. It could be said that Jia and Chen Feng were exceptionally loving as compared to their peers who were always squabbling. But after they had been dating for almost 7 years and had been working for 3, there were some topics that were inevitable. Although Jiao Nan's triplets were only 14, they had already finished their middle school examination because they had skipped grades. They had even been accepted by a top high school in the capital and were now first-year students. Chapter 2489, Dad's So Fierce, 3. Thankfully, the Zai family's genes were good, and even among the older children, the 3 children didn't appear short. San Bao was a girl and matured relatively earlier and was now the tallest amongst the 3 children. Although Dabao and Erbao hadn't undergone puberty, they were still considered tall among their peers. Seeing that their younger sister was taller than them, Dabao and Erbao secretly tried to win against their competition. Every time, they made sure to finish the fresh milk that Xiaonan gave them. How could they be shorter than their younger sister? The Zai family was tall to begin with, and because they had not let all that milk go to waste, Dabao and Erbao finally grew tall and slender and were now the same height as Sanbao. The triplets were now high school students, and Sanbao was like a flower about to blossom, whereas Dabao and Erbao were like young and tender trees. The three children were extremely eye-catching. But as the children aged, so did their parents. Now that she was at the age of wanting a grandchild, Zihua started to pressure Jiajia and Chen Feng to get married. They had already been dating for 5 to 6 years. That was more than enough. Did they really want to get past the 7-year itch before getting married? Thankfully, Chen Feng and Jiajia had already made their plans to get married a month after the National Day holidays. The sudden bomb threw all the adults into a frenzy. Was getting married just a matter of talk? They had to take wedding photos, prepare their wedding invitations, think of who to invite, where to hold the banquet, what to prepare for the banquet, and so on. It was terribly complicated. Fine. As long as Jiajia was willing to get married to Chen Feng, Zihua didn't mind getting busy. After all, she could always pull her brother and sister-in-law along to help her out. Of course, the Zai family's triplets naturally became the flower boys and girls since Jiajia and Chen Feng were getting married. Dabao didn't feel much for being a flower boy and eventually decided to let Erbao and Sanbao take on that responsibility instead. Sanbao was already in high school and was capable of analyzing situations. That was why she had asked such an embarrassing question about whether to address them as brother-in-law or sister-in-law. Time had been kind on Xiaonan, who was nearly 54. Not only did she still look like a young lady, but her face was also still tender and soft and didn't look dry or wrinkled at all. Xiaonan didn't look any older than a woman in her 40s. In the face of her daughter's question, Xiaonan laughed. You can call them whatever you like, as long as all three of you address them the same way. Why don't you ask Jiajia this question and see how she replies and what she prefers? Okay. Sanbao's eyes lit up. That was the best solution. Sanbao quickly ran over to find Jiajia, who was in the midst of her wedding photo shoot with Chen Feng. Sister, after you get married to brother, should I address you as sister or sister-in-law? The moment Jiajia, who had been trying on her veil, heard that question, she decisively answered, address me as sister. Your brother will be your brother-in-law. Although they were about to get married, there was no way she was going to let Chen Feng have her younger siblings. Chen Feng, who had just finished wearing his suit, didn't know how to react upon hearing that. All right, he loved his younger siblings, and Jiajia was going to be his wife and the mother of his future children. If Chen Feng didn't give in to her, who would? Yes, you can address me as brother or brother-in-law. Sanbao clung onto Jiajia. Sister, brother-in-law treats you so well. When she grew up, she wanted to find a boyfriend who would treat her just as well, take care of her, and give in to her whenever conflicts arose. Why was her father, Zai Sheng, not the perfect husband in Sanbao's eyes? Well, perhaps only her mother would be able to stand a man like her dad in this entire world. Thinking about how their parents were always together and couldn't be separated, Sanbao always felt like the three of them were redundant. No matter the situation, her dad was always on her mom's side. She wasn't afraid of angering her father. After all, she would simply be sent to the military for more training. But she was doomed if she ever angered her mom. Her dad would then become a devil and torture all three of them to death. Understanding that their mom was the true boss at home, the three children never caused any trouble for Xiaonan, and neither did they go through a rebellious period to worry Xiaonan. Between Xiaonan and Zai Sheng, Sanbao felt that the three siblings had little room to breathe. Yes, if she was going to find a boyfriend, she had better find one like her brother-in-law. Her father was better off staying with her mom. Jia pinched Sanbao's nose without saying anything. In her opinion, Sanbao was still young. Dating and marriage were far in the future for Sanbao. She didn't want to tell Sanbao too much as that would cause her to get into an early relationship. That would only worry her aunt. Jia knew that she was crazy for her younger siblings, but her uncle was crazy for his wife. She couldn't afford to offend him. If Sanbao were to get into an early relationship because of her. Jia shivered, not daring to even consider the consequences. Her mom had already told her a long time ago that her aunt had the highest position in the Zai family, but the one she had to watch out for was her uncle. "Sister, you look beautiful in your wedding gown." Sanbao looked dreamily at Jia's wedding gown. "What's the hurry? Don't you have one too?" The difference was that Sanbao was wearing a mini wedding gown while she was wearing an extravagant one. "All right, you'll get your chance in the future. Listen to me. You can't afford to hurry such things. If you get anxious, your mom will get anxious as well. Then, your dad will get you even more anxious." It sounded like a tongue twister, but both Jia and Sanbao understood what she meant. Sanbao stuck her tongue out. "Sister, can we not mention my dad at such a time?" Jia smiled. "Sanbao, do you dislike my uncle because he's too fierce to you guys, or because he's always snatching my auntie away?" "Both." Sanbao thought about it for a while. "Dad is really fierce. Besides, it's really not good that he's always snatching mom from us." She couldn't understand why a grown man was always trying to snatch her mom from his children. "Ha ha ha," Jia couldn't help but burst into laughter. Jia had personally witnessed her younger siblings try to snatch their mom from their dad many times to no avail. She had heard her mom talk about it often too. Jia wasn't even sure whether she should express sympathy for her three younger siblings. Chapter 2490, No Longer Staying With You, 1. Her younger siblings truly had it hard having a father who was crazy for his wife. "All right, don't complain about it. I heard my mom saying that uncle treated you guys very well when you were young. He always played with you guys and always got auntie to coax you guys to sleep. Every time your family went out, uncle and auntie always let you sleep in the middle while they slept by the sides. My mom often says that she had never thought that uncle would have such a tender and considerate side to him. Her mom even said that she thought that her younger brother was made of ice. Any time he warmed up and the ice melted, he would disappear from this earth." "Are you serious? Why do I have no impression of that?" Sanbao cupped her face in disbelief. Every time they asked their mother to put them to bed, their dad would say that there was no need for their mother to coax them to sleep since they were all grown up. If they couldn't fall asleep, it was better to put on a lullaby so that they could fall asleep themselves. Thinking about how her father had even slept by her side, Sanbao thought that it was incredulous. Jia helped Sanbao tidy her hair. "It's not strange that you don't remember it. That all happened before you turned 3. After you guys turned 5, uncle got much stricter." But her younger siblings had better memories of everything that had happened after turning 5. On the other hand, they seemed to have no memories of the times before they were 5. "Are you guys ready?" Chen Feng couldn't help but remind the two sisters of their main objective of the day. They had already finished their outdoor photo shoot that morning and were here to take some additional indoor photos. All right. I'll return my sister to you. Sigh. You were so nice to us in the past. Now that you're my brother-in-law, you're just like my dad and not friendly to us at all." Sanbao pouted, expressing her unhappiness. It was indeed true that men changed after marriage. Her brother would never have hurried her like that in the past. Now that he was getting married, his younger siblings were being cast aside. Sigh. Men were all the same. Even if she found a man like her brother, he would eventually end up like her father. Sanbao was disappointed. Why couldn't she get a perfect man? Thankfully, she was still young and only 14 years old. She still had at least 10 years to find that ideal man in her heart. With that thought, Sanbao felt much more at ease and didn't take issue with how her brother had cast his sister aside now that he had a wife. Of course, Chen Feng could not hide the fact that he was getting married to Jiajia from his mother, Qiao Zijin. Mother and father Chen had left over the past 5 to 6 years, but the one who was the greatest troublemaker, Ding Ji, was still well and alive. The elderly in Jiajia's family were all gone too. That was why Jiajia hesitated, not knowing whether to let Ding Ji attend the wedding. She wasn't particularly interested in inviting her, but it didn't seem right not to do so either. After all, Chen Feng was Ding Ji's eldest grandson. Thinking about how Ding Ji was so old, and how they had already invited Qiao Zijin, they seemed to be left with no other choice than to invite Ding Ji since she was his grandmother. Forget it. They would invite both of them. It was such a joyful occasion that her son was getting married, but when Qiao Zijin learned of the news, she couldn't even let out a smile. In fact, her heart was full of hatred. If her son was going to marry Jiajia, she would rather her son not get married at all. So many years had passed. Qiao Zijin would be a fool if she couldn't sense how Chen Feng had a closer relationship with Qiao Nan than herself. But she was Chen Feng's biological mother, after all, and she was still alive. How could Chen Feng be filial to Qiao Nan instead of her? Who was the one who had given birth to Chen Feng? Qiao Zijin was already unable to tolerate how her son didn't have much feelings for her and was biased toward Qiao Nan. Now, her son was going to marry Qiao Nan's in-law's niece. This made Qiao Zijin even more upset, and she wanted to prevent this marriage at all costs. She clearly knew just how much Zihua's daughter liked Qiao Nan. While she had been in Pingcheng, she had always talked sweetly about her auntie, so much so that it was disgusting to hear. Jiajia shared a close relationship with Qiao Nan, and Chen Feng liked Qiao Nan too. If she were to let the two of them get married, she would be cast aside. Besides, it had been a long time since Chen Feng had started dating Jiajia, but he had never once mentioned Jiajia to her. He had been trying to protect her. That wasn't wrong since she didn't like Zihua's daughter and would never let Zihua's daughter be her daughter-in-law. She had to let her son marry another woman. Qiao Zijin knew just how impressive Zihua was. Considering Jiajia and Zihua had a similar temper, Qiao Zijin was sure that Jiajia would never let her have it good if Chen Feng were to marry Jiajia. Daughters-in-law suffered for years before becoming mothers-in-law themselves. She had finally been able to become a mother-in-law, but not only would she not be able to assert her position as one, but she would even have to live according to her daughter-in-law's whims and fancy. That made absolutely no sense. Her son could marry anyone but Zihua's daughter. She would not agree. Seeming to have guessed Qiao Zijin's attitude, Chen Feng made a call to her. "I've bought you a ticket to the capital. If you want to come, you can just bring your identity card along. It's fine even if you don't want to come. It's quite tiring to come to the capital from Pingcheng anyway. My wedding with Jiajia will be recorded. You can watch it on video next time if you are interested." If Qiao Zijin didn't come, Chen Feng would feel even more relieved. But Chen Feng knew that Qiao Zijin wanted to attend her son's wedding. She simply didn't want him to marry Jiajia. Of course, because she had not achieved her goal, there was no way Qiao Zijin would give up. She had to go to the capital. But Chen Feng held on to that sliver of hope. He felt that Qiao Zijin not coming to the capital to attend his wedding would be the best wedding present she could ever give him. Every son hoped to receive a present from his mother when getting married. The thought of how he wanted such a present made Chen Feng feel that he shared this misery with Qiao Zijin. Thankfully, all of his other relatives were very normal and treated him well apart from Qiao Zijin. Now that he was getting married, his auntie had taken over the duties of his parents and had helped him settle everything. This had lessened the burden on him and Jiajia. In this way, he had quite a good fortune. Although his mom was unreliable, he had a reliable younger auntie, with whom he shared an even closer bond. There was nothing he could complain about. After hanging up the call, Chen Feng continued with his preparations.